It was 10 years ago today, Survivor Series 2012, that a certain faction made their debut in WWE. Of course, I'm talking about The Shield, one of whom was on the show tonight in the main event on SmackDown, that being Roman Reigns. It was Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and some guy named Dean Ambrose, who arrived on the scene, helped CM Punk retain the WWE Championship 10 years ago tonight at Survivor Series. And The Shield, of course, was a favorite act of mine. If you remember, if you were listening to the sound off during that period, I was a big Shield guy. Shield is one of my all-time favorite groups in WWE. All three men going on to bigger and better things. In fact, right now, all three members of the Shield are holding championships. Roman Reigns has 2 of them. Seth Rollins is the United States champion. Jon Moxley, for at least another 24 hours, is the AEW World Champion. So I think they all went on to do some big things in the wrestling business. AEW had Dynamite this week in Connecticut, and it sounded as if the people in Connecticut were comatose for much of the show on Wednesday. WWE decided to come to Connecticut this week as well, and WWE had a much better crowd in Hartford for SmackDown tonight. They were electric at the finish, because we found out who the 5th man is going to be on the babyface squad at Survivor Series. It is going to be Kevin Owens, after all, despite the injury he suffered about a week ago at the live event in Wisconsin. Supposedly it was an MCL sprain of his knee. He's been doing some rehab at the Performance Center, and there was some question as to whether or not he was going to be able to go, because it just seemed obvious that he was going to take the 5th spot in the War Games match. And it would have been terrible if he was not able to be in the match, because it's very clear, storyline-wise, that Kevin Owens needs to be in that match to move that story along in the proper way. I was very happy to see him on the show tonight, and he was moving around pretty good. Doesn't mean he's not hurt. Doesn't mean that leg wasn't all taped up, but he was looking pretty good. He was looking good enough to get a stunner off on Roman Reigns and stand tall at the end of the show, and the place went crazy for it, so we'll talk about that. We had 2 more World Cup matches on the show tonight. We had Ricochet and Mustafa Ali, with the winner going on to face Braun Strowman. So now we know the brackets for this tournament, and sure enough, they're putting Braun Strowman in the ring. Really, Ali could have won too. They're putting Braun Strowman in the ring with one of the flippy-floppy guys. They even had Ricochet drop a flippy-floppy reference on TV tonight, so now they're incorporating his dumb tweet into the storyline. It will be David versus Goliath on TV next week. Butch moving on as well in the World Cup with a win over Sami Zayn in the main event. Bray Wyatt, who last week had a backstage confrontation with LA Knight, which was a pairing I was not expecting, but a pairing that I was very intrigued to see. We had another segment with them on TV tonight to move that story along, and having seen what they did tonight, it's just one segment out there in the ring. Some real chemistry between these two. I'm digging it. And no official announcement was made. In fact, LA Knight's night didn't end too well. But it does look like we're going to end up getting that match at Survivor Series. And honestly, when I look back on this show tonight, the only weak spot was the women's segment. The women's match on this show was no good. That was the one weak point of the entire night. Otherwise, this is a very enjoyable episode of SmackDown. SmackDown was the best show all week. Better than Raw, better than Dynamite. Which is not what you want to hear heading into an AEW pay-per-view tomorrow night. But SmackDown was the best show all week. This is your WWE Smackdown review for Friday, November 18th, 2022. I am the Solomonster. The goal tonight for Be the Booker is 400 likes. The Horseman 4. There it is. 400 likes. If we can get there, we will do Be the Booker. So like, subscribe, drop a super chat. You can gift a membership to somebody if you want to be a little generous. And it probably doesn't work. I don't think it works on mobile. You guys can let me know. I think that's only on PC. But yes, you can gift memberships to people on the channel for those of you who do not know. And something else you may not be aware of, there is a Black Friday sale that is ongoing as we speak. And it's going to be ongoing through not this Monday, but the following Monday, November 28th, after Thanksgiving. But you can get 20% off the brand new 15-year anniversary Sound Off shirt. So if you have been waiting for a few bucks off, if you've been waiting for a discount, jump on that, take advantage, ProWrestlingTees.com/Solomonster Sounds Off. I know some of you were waiting until the Black Friday sale kicked in. I know how you guys think. I think the same way. I'm always surfing around. I'm going to retailmenot.com. I'm doing a Google search for coupon codes. I'm the same way. You don't need a code. Everything on the page is 20% off. So go ahead and pick up your own 15-year anniversary Sound Off shirt. So we open the show tonight with the Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Pete Dunne coming out to the ring. Drew McIntyre then makes his own entrance, and he comes out to the ring. They, of course, are going to be on the same side. Michael Cole made it official as they were coming to the ring. He mentioned the fact that the War Games match at Survivor Series will be all the members of the Bloodline. Roman Reigns, the Usos, Solo Sikoa, Sami Zayn. They're going to be stepping into the ring with Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, Butch, and a mystery fifth man who we did not know at the beginning of the night tonight. So Sheamus spoke first, and he was playing with the microphone, mocking the fact that his microphone wasn't working last week, asking everybody if they could hear him. And he talked about the rivalry that he's had with Drew McIntyre over the years. Those two have had, of course, many battles with each other. And he said that it's created a mutual respect between them. He said it created a bond so strong that he even had Drew be his best man at his wedding in New York City 3 weeks ago. And Drew couldn't help himself. He said, finally. Sheamus said, yes, fine. What is Sheamus anyway? Sheamus is, I think, 45, right? Sheamus is 45. So he finally got hitched. The crowd started chanting Usi, and Sheamus played off of it by saying that he was feeling a little broody, which was so lame. That was so... some people are good at improvising and thinking on their feet and coming up with stuff on the spot. I don't know if that was an improvised line or not, but that needs to go. The whole broody thing, that needs to go. So Sheamus asked McIntyre if he would be their honorary brute at Survivor Series. McIntyre said that nobody knows what it's like to be overwhelmed by the Bloodline like he does. He said that they multiply like rabbits. But when the odds are even, he knows that they can win. He said that if he's going to war, he's going to go to war with his brother. He put his hand out for a handshake, and Sheamus shook his hand, and the two of them hugged. So Ridge Holland had a microphone in his hand. And Ridge Holland piped up and he said, tonight, Hartford, tonight, it's fight night. And then Butch took the mic and he said, War Games, doing his best William Regal impersonation. Sheamus sounded like he was about to tell us who the fifth member of their team would be, but he was interrupted by Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn came out by himself. He stood on stage. And he said, honestly, the Bloodline, they don't care. We don't care who the fifth man on your team is going to be at Survivor Series. He says, we're actually feeling pretty oozy about it. And then he rattled off a bunch of nicknames for himself. He said, do you know who you're dealing with here? Do you know who you're talking to? He says, you're talking to the master strategist, a.k.a. the honorary Oos, a.k.a. Sammy Uso, a.k.a. Usi in the sky with diamonds. And I have to tell you, I know I just said that Sheamus had that lame line. Some people can't improvise. Usi in the sky with diamonds, that popped me. I'm not going to lie. I did pop for that line. He said that he's not a man who offers many guarantees, but he guaranteed that the Bloodline will win War Games. And he pointed out that he would beat Butch in their World Cup match later on tonight. Sheamus got the last word in here. He said that when Sami finds out who the fifth man is, he is going to crap his bleeding pants because it's the last thing that he would ever expect. And so that was a pretty heavy tease for Kevin Owens, and they left it. They wanted you to tune in to find out who the fifth man was going to be, and that is what you call a cliffhanger for the end of the show. So I thought the opening segment was fine. Usi in the sky with diamonds. Sami Zayn is a national treasure. We had Ricochet against Mustafa Ali in a first-round match in the Smackdown World Cup tournament. Ali had his ribs all taped up from the beatdown that Bobby Lashley put on him on Raw Monday night. Earlier today, we cut to footage of Ali in the trainer's room, and the trainer is telling him, look, I don't think you should go out there. He is strongly advising against it, and Ali is determined. He goes, no. Ricochet shows up. He goes, what are you doing? He goes, you got to think about your future. Ali is wrestling, of course. He's wrestling because he knows he has no future. Have you seen the way that Ali has been booked on Monday Night Raw over the last month? Ali is looking at this going, brother, this is all I have. I have to go out there for this match. I have to win. Otherwise, I have nothing. So Ricochet tried to talk him out of it, and he ignored all of their advice and said he was fine. So the story early on in their match was Ricochet did not want to belabor things. He did not want to hurt Ali, so he was trying to win the match quickly. Ali took advantage of Ricochet's sympathy, though, and he clubbed him with a forearm to the back of the head. They fought up top. Ali hit a backstabber from the top rope, heading into the commercial break. Later in the match, Ali dove onto Ricochet on the floor. Ricochet rolled through, and he picked up Ali, and he hit him with a Michinoku driver on the floor. Back inside, Ricochet went up top. He attempted a corkscrew 450. Ali moved out of the way. He applied a Koji clutch. He was trying for the submission. And Ricochet was able to get to the ropes. He hit a snap German suplex. Ricochet hit a stiff lariat, followed by a springboard moonsault for a near fall. The referee was checking on Ali. Jessica Carr was asking him, are you okay? Do you want to continue? And Ali was insistent that he was okay. He was insistent that he did want to continue. Don't stop the match. He got back into the match with a tornado DDT. So Ali can feel it. He can taste it. This is going to be the upset of the week. Climbs up to the top rope, and Ali is setting up for a 450, and he hits the 450. The problem is he hit the 450, but nobody was home. And so he crashed face first. He's selling the ribs. That paved the way for Ricochet to climb up top. He landed a shooting star press on Ali from a standing position. Ali had gotten back to his feet. Ricochet still took him down with the 450, or rather the shooting star press. And he pinned Ali to advance to the next round of the tournament against Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, who, well, we'll talk about Braun a little bit later on. Braun was struggling a little bit in the back after his match. This was very good. I expected this to be a very good match. I thought this was very good. This was actually the first Mustafa Ali match that the crowd actually was into. They were into the near falls. They were loud for it. This is the first Ali match they were loud for in a very long time. Because one of the big problems with Ali on Raw has been they send him out there for these matches and he gets no reaction. And they're trying to build him up as this baby face that you can get behind, the real, scrappy underdog. But he's out there, and again, you can hear the air conditioning. You can hear, the sound, the ambient noise in the building. People do not care. Tonight they cared. And credit to Ricochet as well. So these two, I thought, had a very good match. Ricochet sat down next to him on the apron when the match was over. They did a fist bump, and Ricochet helped Ali to the back, just like a good friend. Backstage, Jey Uso was yelling at Sami Zayn for going out there at the beginning and talking on behalf of the Bloodline. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are going out there and speaking on behalf of us and going out there and guaranteeing a win in War Games? And Sami doesn't understand it. Sami says, look, I don't get it. Like, what's your problem with me? I went out there. All I said is that we're going to go to Survivor Series and win. Do you not think we're going to win? And Jey said, no, of course we're going to win. He goes, well, what's the problem? So Jimmy Uso spoke up. He stepped in. He told everybody to get on the same page because Roman was on his way to the arena. Late as always, Roman Reigns. Sami stepped away. So we had Jimmy, Jey, and Solo, and Jimmy told them that they had Bloodline business to handle later tonight. Sami all of a sudden stepped back into camera frame. He went over to Jimmy Uso and did some weird Bloodline handshake. And he said that he would tell him more about that thing they discussed. They'll talk about it later on. And as he was saying this, Jey was in the background, covering his face, covering his mouth. Sami walks away. And before, he was just on the verge. He was right on the verge of cracking. And Jay looks at Jimmy and he just goes, "You actually like this guy?" And Jimmy says, "Yeah." So he broke Jay again. He broke Jey Uso again. I am convinced that Sami Zayn's only goal each week is to break Jey Uso on live television. It doesn't matter about Roman or Jimmy or Solo or Heyman or anybody else. His sole goal is to break Jey Uso in every single segment they share on television. This is the new streak. This is the new streak. We haven't had a streak like this since The Undertaker lost in New Orleans. The streak continues. Jey Uso he cannot control himself. Backstage, Kayla Braxton interviewed The New Day, who of course lost to The New Day, or they lost to The New Day. I'd like to see that. The New Day lost to the Usos last week, which meant that their record went adios. They are no longer the longest reigning WWE Tag Team Champions of all time. That record now belongs to Jimmy and Jay. So they were very disappointed, obviously. Xavier Woods is now sporting a mustache. Because what else is there for them to do, right? They lost last week. They've got nothing else going on. Poor Xavier now lost his gig on G4 because they're shutting down the network. In fact, I just got an email from YouTube TV last week telling me that I will no longer have G4. So Xavier Woods, I mean, everything is just falling apart for poor Xavier. And so when that happens, you do things like grow a mustache. Maybe his luck will change. So all three members of Imperium interrupted, with Fabian Eichner first mocking them and then Marcel Bartel mocking them and saying that they are what's wrong with wrestling today. They said that it was up to them. It was up to Imperium to restore honor to the mat that they find so sacred. Woods and Kofi mocked them right back and said that Gunther looked like Lurch from the Addams Family. Now, I know that the Addams Family is still a thing. I think most people have heard of the Addams Family. But the Addams Family, come on. Can we come up with something a little more current, a little more recent? I look at Walter. I don't see Lurch. I have no idea what he's talking about. Do you see Lurch? I don't see Lurch. So Wood said, "Look, I got an idea. How about we find a partner and we meet you guys in the ring later tonight?" And Gunther accepted and said that New Day just proved their point for them. So it's spots like this where Big E is missed. Big E, imagine if Big E was ready to come back, right? Imagine if that, wasn't as serious as it was, but Big E had to go away for a while. And they haven't mentioned him or anything, and then all of a sudden Big E's music hits, and out comes Big E, the reaction that he would get. Unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. Backstage, we saw Emma walk up to Madcap Moss, who was in the gorilla position, getting ready to go out for his match against Karrion Kross. And Emma walked up to him, and she handed him a water bottle, and he said that tonight it's about revenge for what Kross did to him, putting him in the Kross jacket and refusing to release the hold a few weeks ago. He was having trouble speaking. His voice was still very low from what happened. Emma said that she knows how great he is and told him to use your speed. Use your speed as a weapon because you're more of an athlete than he is. So they looked like they were about to kiss. They were kind of coming together, and then instead Madcap just went out through the curtain for his match. This felt like a cutscene from a fucking 2K video game. Is what this felt like. But I will say, even though it was kind of corny, I think it's a positive change. It's a positive change, especially for Madcap. It's a positive change. Adding Emma to the equation here, if that's where it all ends up, because Madcap is very plain. I still don't know why he's got the Madcap name. The Madcap name is so dumb. It doesn't even fit the character, but then again, what character does he have? He doesn't have any character. So when he ditched the shorts and the suspenders and the jokes and the laughing, they should have ditched the entire name to go with it. I'm kind of surprised Triple H hasn't done that already, to be honest with you. Triple H has made a lot of positive moves. We've seen people, Nikki Cross and Karrion Kross. Maybe it's just people named Kross. Maybe if your name is Kross, Triple H will, allow you to kind of revert back to the way you were. But if your name isn't Kross, I guess you're not allowed to. But he needs more character development. He needs more character development. This could help with that. This could help with the character development. And not only for him, but for Emma as well, because Emma came back. Emma had that one match with Ronda Rousey, and we really haven't seen her do anything since. So this woman just came back to the company after 5 years. There's a lot of people who don't know her. There's a lot of people who don't remember her. They don't know what's so great about Emma, what she's about, where she comes from, what her story is. So for her to come back and then immediately be relegated to the back burner doesn't do her any good. Get her involved in a story. She's not challenging for the championship. Give her something to do. The two of them are an item in real life. I'm sure they love working together, but I think this is a positive for the both of them. We'll see where this story takes them. But we had Madcap Moss. This took him to the ring for a match with Karrion Kross. Moss caught Moss and Kross. You know, his name isn't Kross, but it's close enough. It rhymes. Thank you, Kevin Rogers. Kevin Rogers with the chat of the night. Oh, I'm pissed I didn't think of that. They should change his name to Madcap Kross. There you go. And then Triple H will do right by him. Madcap Kross. That should be his new name. That is a great idea. So Moss caught Kross with a jumping knee at the bell. Kross fired back. Moss came back with a big lariat that sent Kross out to the floor. He followed him outside, tossed him into the barricade, and then back into the ring. Karrion Kross fired back with a suplex and some very weak-looking stomps in the corner. Kross was arguing with the referee. That allowed Scarlett to reach in and slap old Madcap right across the face. Moss came back with a running shoulder tackle. Scarlett distracted Moss. Kross got the cross jacket reapplied until Moss tapped out. That gave Karrion Kross the win. And after the match, Emma ran down to the ring to check on Moss. And Karrion and Scarlett, they took their leave. So, teasing a future mixed tag team match with these two teams. Kross, you know, we read many weeks ago, this is from PW Insider, Mike Johnson, who said that Karrion Kross is listed, or at least as of a few weeks ago he was, listed on the internal roster on SmackDown as the number 2 heel on the entire brand. Karrion Kross does not feel like the number 2 heel on the entire brand. Karrion Kross feels like an upper mid-card act, which is what he is right now. He feels that way because that's what he is. Karrion Kross is not a main eventer right now on SmackDown. He is, and definitely not the number 2 heel. The number 2 heel on SmackDown is Gunther. He is the number 2 heel on SmackDown. Roman Reigns is number 1. Gunther is number 2. And Kross, you know, regardless of where they have him slotted internally, especially now you have him feuding with Madcap Moss, coming off the loss to Drew McIntyre, I think it's pretty clear that if he was listed at number 2, he's been downgraded a few spots. Up next, we were told Bray Wyatt makes amends. Eric in the chat, I'm trying to be nice. He says Karrion Kross, he goes, upper mid-carder, I get straight up mid-carder vibes. I do too. But not every mid-carder has the entrance. I mean, the production and the presentation of Kross is a plus. But the booking, the matches that he's been having, none of it screams main event so far. And now we see, based on what they had him doing here on the show, and it was pretty clear at the end of this match that the issue with him and Madcap is not over yet. He's planted pretty firmly in that mid-card position right now. But we were told that up next, Bray Wyatt makes amends. Bray got the full entrance with the door and the new music, so no backstage segment for Bray Wyatt this week. He got in the ring, and he said that, my name is Bray Wyatt. Lately, I've started to realize that I've been conditioned my entire life to be a certain way. When that happens for so long, you feel like changing is just impossible. Says I was conditioned to be strong and to take. I was taught that fear is respect, but lately I'm starting to look at that path that I left behind me, and when I look at it, it is covered in ashes and blood. And I started to ask myself, why do I do the things that I do? And can I actually change? If I was LA Knight, I know how I would handle this situation, and that makes me sad. But I want to come out here and apologize to LA Knight for what I did to him. And when he said that he was here to apologize, the crowd booed. Because this crowd did not want to see Bray Wyatt come back to fucking apologize. They wanted to see Bray Wyatt come back and crack some skulls. So they booed. And he said, I had a moment of weakness and I strayed from my path. And at that moment, LA Knight's music interrupts. Out he comes. Let me talk to you. He says, for 7 days, I've run it over and over and over again in my mind, the cheap shot heard around the world. And each time it gets me a little bit hotter than the last. Now you're out here apologizing and I'm confused. You talked about fear and respect. I look in your eyes and I don't know what it is, but there's something that tells me the fact that I didn't fear you maybe garnered me some respect. Because when I think about it, the rarest commodity around here is respect. It's more valuable than the dollar. It's definitely more valuable than any crypto is these days. He says, now I'm not sure what to make of your apology, but as I look into your eyes, I think you do respect me. And so for that, I just want to, and then whoosh, slaps him right across the face. Slap the taste right out of his mouth. So then he jumps down from the apron. Actually, no, he was still on the apron, I think. He was still on the apron. And he goes, now we're even. But he's kind of backing away from Bray. He goes, now we're even. He goes, apology accepted. Now we're even. And Bray, Bray's trying to contain himself. He's trying to restrain himself as best as he can. But he goes, now we're even. Apology accepted. He goes, we're done. I could go my way. You could go yours. And Bray said, all right. He goes, we're even. He says, look, man, there's a lot I want to do to you, but I'm not going to. He says, I'm going to fight those urges. And I'm thinking to myself, because he's standing there looking at this guy going, there's a lot that I would like to do to you right now, but I'm fighting those urges. And I thought to myself, this is a very different direction for the Bray Wyatt. They were veering in a very different direction here for the Bray Wyatt character. That would be quite the swerve if they took it another way. He said, but the decision that you're going to make right now is going to change the rest of your life. Bray said, we're even. And he put his hand out for a handshake. He was going to shake LA Knight's hand. And LA Knight is looking at the hand and he's contemplating what he's going to do. And he slaps him again. I love this. I loved it. He slapped him twice across the face. He goes, 2-for-1 special. All week I've been dying to do that. He goes, how's that taste? As he's slowly backing up the aisleway. Now, as he's backing up the aisle, he's got his back turned to the Titantron. The Titantron has gone all black. But on the Titantron, it starts glitching out with Bray's logo and some static. LA Knight doesn't see this. It was almost like Uncle Howdy was trying to send a message to Bray Wyatt. And they cut back to Bray in the ring, and Bray has this look on his face like he is practically catatonic. Like he cannot believe what this man just did to him. That was the face of a man in his head debating, how am I going to murder this man? Do I dismember him all at once, or do I dismember him in pieces and take my time? That's what he looked like standing there in the middle of that ring. This is a man. This is a character, Bray Wyatt, right? Trying to do the right thing. He's trying to come out here and control those urges, and be the bigger man. But man, these people on this roster, the people here in this world, they're making it awfully difficult for him. He's trying to do good, but it's not working out too well. And it looked like LA Knight just sent him over the edge with those two slaps. I thought these two had great chemistry here in this segment. LA Knight is fucking great. And all you people who laughed and mocked and scoffed at the idea of LA Knight possibly wrestling Steve Austin at WrestleMania, you're all a bunch of fools. If you can't see that would actually, I think, be a very entertaining program. I never said that it would be the biggest program that they could do or the biggest money program. But absolutely, I could see that one day. So LA Knight is great. I was worried as I was listening to Bray speak in this segment before LA Knight came out. I was starting to be like, all right. The crowd is felt to me like they were starting to get a little antsy. Because these promos that he's coming out and doing, this can only go on for so long. You've got to give the people something. You've got to give the people a fight, a brawl, a match, whatever it might be, they're going to get tired. They're going to get bored of this shit. And I was starting to wonder if this was the segment where it would start to happen. Then LA Knight came out and they did the slaps and everything, and it became pretty clear where the story is going, and I like where it's going. They're slowly building to a point where Bray the Madness is just taking over, and he's just going to absolutely combust. He's going to lose his mind. That's what people are waiting for. They're waiting for Bray to lose his mind. These people are actually, I think, they're waiting and cheering for this man to lose his mind. They don't want this man to be cured. They don't want this man to resist all of the impulses. They want him to snap. The fans are the worst possible thing for this Bray Wyatt character. These people, if Bray Wyatt was in a therapy session, he was sitting in the doctor's office, these people would be standing outside the window cheering for him to revert back to his old ways. These people are a bad influence. So the Usos were in the back. They were asking Karrion Kross. Karrion Kross was walking by with Scarlett. They get cornered by Jimmy and Jay. And Jay wants to know if he's the fifth member on Drew and the Brawling Brutes team at War Games. And Karrion Kross said that he's not a follower. He says, when I come to take Roman's titles, which I will, I'm going to do it on my own time. And when I do, I'm not going to do it with some pack. I'm going to do it all on my own. Yeah, why would he need a pack when he has his wife win most of his matches for him? He doesn't need a pack. He has Scarlett. That's all he needs. In the background during this segment, it's pretty obvious, but maybe some people didn't see it. In the background as this was going on, Bray Wyatt was standing there and he was having an argument with someone. The person he was having an argument with was himself. Bray was having some sort of argument with one of his many personalities. You know, it's too bad WWE does not offer its talent a healthcare plan, because Bray is somebody who I think could benefit from speaking to a counselor. Of course, there is always BetterHelp. Speaking to a therapist that way. I have a code if Bray Wyatt ever needs one. It's down in the description. Somebody can let Bray know. We had Shayna Baszler out next with Ronda Rousey in her corner, and Shayna was coming out for a match with Shotzi Blackheart, who is challenging Ronda for the Smackdown Women's Championship at Survivor Series. Ronda provided the distraction immediately. Shayna jumped Shotzi from behind. Rousey grabbed Shotzi's leg later on as she hit the ropes. Baszler took over again. Shayna landed a German suplex, tossed Shotzi out on the floor right in front of where Ronda was. Ronda didn't touch her, but Ronda was yelling at her and talking smack. Shotzi surprised Shayna with a drop kick as she got back into the ring, and then she hit a terrible-looking facebuster. Even more distractions from Ronda. That finally brought out Raquel Rodriguez, Shotzi's partner who could take no more. She came out to the ring, and Raquel's mere presence was enough of a distraction for Shotzi to get the roll-up. She schoolboyed Shayna Baszler, and she pinned her. The old distraction roll-up finish. Solomonster's favorite finish. The old distraction roll-up for the win. I hated this. This was stupid. This was dumb. And here's the thing. It didn't do any good for either one. It made Shayna Baszler look like a fool. And for Shotzi, look, the reality is, Shotzi is not a believable contender for Ronda Rousey. Shotzi has no business being in a Survivor Series match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. She just does not belong in that spot. She's not ready for that spot. She is not believable in that spot. And her matches of late have not exactly inspired any confidence that these two are going to go out there at the pay-per-view and tear the house down. I don't see that happening. This is just a holdover opponent for Ronda. It's somebody new that she's only worked with, I think, once before on television. That was many months ago. Matches like this really don't help her case. But nobody buys Shotzi as a threat to Ronda Rousey. Absolutely nobody. Raquel is the only one who buys Shotzi as a threat. So I don't see how this match benefited anybody. And that's a fail. In the back, Megan Morant tried to get a word with LA Knight, but he was on his way out the door. He had his luggage in tow, and she was asking him if he was scared. And he denied being afraid. He told her, look, I don't stick around after I'm done with work. As he was talking to her, he already had the door open, and he had his back turned. And in the darkness behind him, we saw a flash of the Uncle Howdy mask, which then disappeared into the darkness, as did LA Knight when he left the building. We come back from break, and we're back inside the building, and LA Knight is found by a bunch of officials lying face down on the ground with this pile of various pieces of equipment on top of him. And they're calling for help, and they're trying to pick the equipment up off of him. Michael Cole whispered on commentary, "You shouldn't poke the bear." So now we wait for the announcement of when the match is going to be. I assume the match will be at Survivor Series with LA Knight. Sometimes they save these matches for TV, but you got to have Bray Wyatt at Survivor Series. We had Imperium against The New Day and their mystery partner, which turned out to be, I called it before he even came out. Just look at the brackets. Remember, the World Cup tournament, the winner is going to challenge Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. So it seemed pretty clear who this person was going to be. And that was Braun Strowman, who came down, and we had Gunther running away from Braun Strowman. Not once, not twice, 3 different times in this match. Gunther ran away from Braun Strowman, trying to put over that Braun is his greatest threat. And look, Braun is a big guy, right? He's the monster. So if Walter was going to run from anybody, he would run from a guy like Braun Strowman. Only Walter should not be running from anybody. But he ran away from him here on this show. Vinci and Woods were in the ring when the show came back from a commercial break. Kaiser tagged in. He hit a lariat and knocked Kofi off the apron so he couldn't make the tag to Xavier Woods. Woods was trying what he could. Finally, he slipped between Kaiser's legs and he made the tag to Braun. Vinci tagged into the match, and he got shoulder blocked out of midair. He was coming off the ropes, and Braun shoulder blocked him in midair and took him down to the mat. Gunther tagged in, and then he ran away from Strowman. One of the many times he ran away from Braun in this match, and Braun gave chase. You know, one of these weeks, Braun is going to slip on a banana peel or something, to trip over his shoelaces or something, and I'm going to laugh. But he was in hot pursuit of Gunther on the outside, and you know what that means. When Braun Strowman takes off on the outside of the ring, that could only mean one thing. That means that it is the Strowman Express. The Strowman Express is taking off, and there he is. There's Braun the Clown, the Banana Nose Circus. Get out of here. Take up my screen. The Strowman Express. And so Braun is chasing him around. He bulldozed Vinci. He bulldozed Kaiser. Landed a spine buster to Gunther in the ring. Strowman tried for a power bomb. Gunther slipped out. He tagged Kaiser back in. Kofi and Woods got the advantage on Ludwig Kaiser. They set him up for the midnight hour. They hit their finish. Gunther was sliding in. He was teasing that he was going to try to save him and break up the pin, but Braun was standing there, and so Gunther ran away again, and he backed off, and the New Day got the pin. Kofi got the pin more specifically, and the babyfaces get the win. So, this was foreshadowing, boys and girls. That's what this was. This was foreshadowing for the winner of the World Cup and the Intercontinental Championship match that Braun Strowman will be getting against him. Now, in the back, in the gorilla position, we had Kayla Braxton waiting for Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman comes in, and he's all tired and breathing heavily, and he's sweaty, right? He just came out. He just came back in, rather, from the arena. And Kayla asks, I forgot what she asked. She asked him some kind of question, and he started speaking, and then he starts coughing and spreading COVID all over the place. And then finally he composes himself, and he says that he's looking forward to taking the title off of Gunther after he wins the tournament. Ricochet walks up, and Ricochet tells Braun to stop overlooking the flippy floppy wrestlers. He goes, "Your words." And Braun kind of smirked. He didn't say anything, but he smirked. And he said, if you keep doing that, it might come back to bite you. And he walked off. Hey, Zizou, one of our channel members here on the Solomonster channel. Hey, Zizou. I haven't seen Zizou recently. I hope you're doing well. So there you go. It is all set up for next week. Braun Strowman against the flippy floppy Ricochet. in the World Cup tournament. Now, there is the possibility that Ricochet could go over on Braun Strowman if Gunther were to get involved and cost Braun the match. But I just can't imagine that they're going to go with Ricochet. Well, okay, so here's the thing. So Ricochet could beat Braun and then lose in the finals. Well, let's go through the rest of this show first, because we have the main event, and then we'll talk about this tournament. But it is not a foregone conclusion that Braun Strowman is going to win next week. The main event was the other World Cup match. We had one at the beginning of the show, and we ended the show with one. It was Sami Zayn of the Bloodline one-on-one with Pete Dunne, a.k.a. Butch. Call him whatever you want. Tonight, you call him a winner, because he's moving on in the World Cup. Butch started with some of the finger manipulation and stomped on Sami's hand. Zayn reversed a Hurricane Rana into a powerbomb for 2. He tossed Butch out to the floor. We got a standoff between the two teams in the War Games match. Butch hit a tornado DDT. He climbed up top. Sami, though, pushed him off and sent him tumbling all the way down to the floor and into the barricade. So that took us into the final commercial break of the match. Beowulf. I see Beowulf in the chat. Yes, indeed. It is colder than a witch's tit. I agree. I don't know where you are, but in New York today, with all the wind, it is definitely as cold as a witch's tit. So both Usos got involved in this match. Sami hit a blue thunder bomb for a great near fall. A brawl broke out on the floor between the two sides. Butch ended up doing a dive out onto the Usos. Sami recovered. He delivered an exploder suplex in the corner, and he was setting up for the haluva kick. Setting up for the big finish. Jey Uso, though, ended up getting shoved into the ring, which broke up what Sami was going for. Butch ended up hitting the bitter end, and he got the pin. Butch advances to the next round of the World Cup, where he will step into the ring with Santos Escobar of Legado del Fantasma. After the match, the brawl continued. All the men at ringside started brawling, right? You have a team out there literally called the Brawling Brutes. It's what they do. So they instigated a brawl, and as everybody is fighting, all of a sudden we hear Roman Reigns' theme song. How nice of the champion to show up here with about 7 minutes or 6 minutes, whatever it was, left in the show. And there was some time left in the show. This was the second week in a row, I feel like, where this show felt like it went off the air a little bit early. So Roman Reigns finally appears with Paul Heyman, and the place goes nuts. He comes down to the ring. He hits Ridge Holland outside the ring with a Superman punch. He takes down Butch with a spear. Down he goes. He looks up into the ring and he sees Drew McIntyre. And Drew takes his shirt off. He's staring at Roman. Roman is staring at him. Solo Sikoa sneaks up from behind Drew. Drew sees him, though. And Drew dispatches Solo, sends him out to the floor. But then he turns around and Reigns catches him with a spear. Down goes Drew McIntyre. Sheamus is in the ring, and now we have a face-off between Roman Reigns and Sheamus, two men who also have a history going back many years. Funny enough, going back to Survivor Series back in 2015. So they start going at it. They start slugging it out. Sami Zayn comes up from behind, and Sheamus shoves him down, but when Sheamus turns back around, Roman catches him with a Superman punch, and now Roman Reigns is setting up for the spear. Then we hear the theme music for Kevin Owens. Big pop from the crowd. Kevin Owens comes out. He takes out both Usos on the floor. He climbs up on the apron. Michael Cole points out on commentary that Kevin Owens was one of Roman Reigns' earliest victims in this long extended run that he has had as Universal Champion. Kevin Owens had, I think, 3 different matches with Roman Reigns. In every single one of those matches, it was Jey Uso who cost Kevin Owens the win. So Kevin Owens fits the bill. This is why these are the teams that I pitched originally. Kevin Owens fits the bill as somebody who has been wronged by the Bloodline. He was one of the earliest people wronged by the Bloodline. I know Bliss fan in the chat would say Bray Wyatt was the first one who was wrong, but Kevin Owens was one of the earliest victims of Roman Reigns. And so forgetting the connection to Sami Zayn, it makes absolute sense that he would want to join with these men to extract his revenge on the Bloodline. So he climbs up on the apron. Now they're eye to eye, the two of them. Fox muted the audio on the show. They didn't do the shit they do on TBS on Dynamite, where you've got, and maybe they do it sometimes on NXT, but I know I've seen it on AEW, where now they don't want the audio getting through if the crowd chants holy shit or they say some other kind of cuss word. So we have audio, they'll push a button, and then, we'll hear the audio, they'll push a button. I mean, that's terrible. So Fox just said, we're just going to mute the whole damn show. 10 seconds. They were chanting holy shit. Fox muted it. Finally, they came back. Owens takes down Roman with stomps in the corner. He turns around, and then he locks eyes with his best bud. He locks eyes with Sami Zayn. And the two of them never touched because Roman Reigns ended up coming back and catching Kevin with a Superman punch. Reigns went for the spear. Owens kicked him coming in, and then he dropped him with a stunner to a big pop. Crowd was electric here for the finish. And so the field is now set. We now have the fifth and final man for War Games, and his name is Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Butch. Those are your baby faces heading into Survivor Series, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, to take on all 5 members of the Bloodline. And for a guy who sprained his MCL, he was looking pretty good out there. He wasn't running around. He wasn't doing dives, but what he did, he looked fine. So I'm sure he's not 100%. Hopefully the injury ended up not being as serious as they feared, and it won't get any worse. And so he's good to go for War Game. And look, he's in a multi-man match. It might be more of a concern if Kevin Owens was supposed to be in a singles match. He's going to be one of 10 men in those 2 rings. So if there are certain things that he can't do, if he's not 100%, he has to be very careful. They can work around his injury. There may be certain things that he's not going to be able to do, but you have 9 other men in the ring who can compensate for whatever he can't do. So I'm very happy that he's able to hold on to that spot in this match. And now they can move into the next chapter of this story, because now we're getting closer to WrestleMania. Every passing week brings us closer to the Royal Rumble. It brings us closer to the Elimination Chamber in Montreal, and it brings us closer to WrestleMania. And the inevitable, what has to be, tag team title match with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn against the Usos. This is where the story progresses to that next chapter. And the crowd was very much into it. Now the question is, when we get to War Games, are Sami and KO going to lock up? What if it's a situation where the Bloodline wants Sami to do something to Owens and he doesn't want to do it? He can't bring himself to do it. I mean, there's a lot of different storyline possibilities here for what they can do, which is why I wanted to do a War Games match involving the Bloodline. It wouldn't have made any sense for it to be any other faction. The Judgment Day, nobody else. This was a match that is tailor-made to continue this story with the Bloodline. And now all of the pieces are in place, and my excitement level for War Games was down here. They have done a very poor job up to this point of really building the War Games matches. And I still say that the women's War Games match is very much lacking. I am not into the build for that at all. And they've got one more episode of Raw to change my mind on that. We didn't even know if this was going to be the men's War Games match. We only got the announcement tonight. It was made official. But now that we have the entire field and what they did here, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this. This feels like a match now worthy of the War Games stipulation. Roman Reigns and the Bloodline against the men that they have wronged. It's a simple story, and it works. And so now they got me excited for Survivor Series. Now, there's one more SmackDown to go before we get to Survivor Series. That is next Friday night. We know that it will be Braun Strowman against Ricochet and Butch taking on Santos Escobar in the World Cup tournament. Shotzi and Raquel will be in tag team action taking on Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. And we will find out who gets the War Games advantage, who gets the man advantage at the pay-per-view. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus will take on the Usos. And so that is your SmackDown card for next week. And this is your Twitter poll with an overwhelmingly positive 76% for tonight's show. I apparently was not the only one who really likes SmackDown. 76% thumbs up, 13% thumbs in the middle, and 10.5% of you have given this show tonight a thumbs down. So please go vote at Solomonster on Twitter is the place to go for that. We are going to be live tomorrow night for the AEW pay-per-view, so you guys are aware. So as soon as Full Gear is over, I want you to come on back. No matter how late it may be, we will recap the entire pay-per-view for you. Got a lot more content here coming to the channel in the days ahead. So, hopefully you will be joining me. Even if you're not an AEW fan, I expect you to be here. Keep me company on a Saturday night. All right, let's take a look at your super chats. Again, I appreciate all of the support, people who do send in super chats. Groovy Goose, you are first on my list. $5 super chat. Today is my birthday. I am excited to spend this evening and weekend watching your streams. Thank you for the awesome work that you do. Well, Groovy Goose, I'm very happy that you're spending your birthday or part of your birthday anyway with me. I hope that you enjoy yourself. Shinakuma says, happy birthday, Groovy Goose. See, he's already getting birthday wishes from the chat. We've got Deep Delicious Chicken and Turkey with Flavor, who says, Tyrus is the greatest NWA World Heavyweight Champion of all time. He is a better world champion than Roman Reigns on Bizarro World. Deep Delicious Chicken with Flavor getting into the eggnog early this year, I see. Shinakuma, ever since Triple H took over WWE, my AEW interest has jumped out the window. I don't watch Rampage or Dynamite. I come to you for that. Cheers to 15 years. Yeah, AEW is lacking in the momentum department right now. They could change that tomorrow night with Full Gear. All it takes is one really great pay-per-view to turn things around, but it's missing that spark right now. Emiliana with the $4.99 sending some love. Now that Kevin and Sami are destined to clash at Survivor Series, it's a good night to be a Sami fan. It's a good night to be a Sami fan every week. Sami Zayn is the highlight of the night on all of these shows. He is the MVP of WWE programming. James Hollins, if Owens was too injured, what do you think about Bronson Reed in that spot? I don't like it because it wouldn't make any storyline sense. Brock Lesnar would actually make more storyline sense than Bronson Reed. So if Kevin Owens was not able to go, I actually think Brock would have been the best choice. Uffman Entertainment, if anybody is going to SmackDown next week, please start a flippy floppy chant for Braun. I'd rather they start a Solomonster chant, but I guess you can chant anything you want. Javier Martinez, $4.99. Might be nothing, but WWE released a poster for Women's War Games, and the missing woman has a hood with blue hair, kind of the same way they did with Bray Wyatt. Well, you know who else has blue hair? Mia Yim, who was in that match. So I don't know if I haven't seen this poster, if it's a fan-made poster, if Mia is already in the poster. I would not put too much stock into what you saw in that poster. Ren the Cynic, remember way back when CM Punk mentioned the 11-year-old rooting for MJF? Well, when my little sister sees him, she looks like this. Oh, what to do? So she's in love with MJF? Well, I can't help you with that. That's your problem. That's a conversation for you to have. Javier says, Shotzi and Ronda is made up for big return after. Shotzi and Ronda is made up for a big... I don't know what that means. Oh, okay. So you're... Okay. I see what you're saying. So he says that the only purpose behind the match, or I think what he's saying, is that it only exists for there to be a big return when the match is over. And who do you think that return is? Are we thinking that it's Becky Lynch? I mean, what are you saying? What are you thinking as far as this return? Aussie of Steel, Bray and LA Knight's feud should be interesting, and thank God they actually had some physicality instead of another Bray promo. Well, we had a Bray promo. We had a Bray promo, and we had some physicality. Rob G, Would you extend Corporate Rock past the Austin feud? No, I mean, look, they made the right call. The Rock was so over, why fight it? The Rock was super over. It was the fans who really turned him. They were already starting to cheer for him. I enjoyed Corporate Rock. You could have gotten more mileage out of it, just like you could have gotten a lot more mileage out of Hollywood Rock. But they wanted to turn him babyface because the fans were hot for The Rock. So when the fans are hot for somebody, you kind of go with the fans. You listen to the crowd, and the crowd wanted The Rock. Bernard Frederick, I'm still laughing from that BBC Super Chat, and your response was hilarious. I've done so many of these streams, I don't even remember which stream that was. Food Hive, I've missed you all. It's been 1 month and 9 days. Yeah, Food Hive, where have you been? Food Hive has been getting ready for Thanksgiving. That's what's been going on. This is this is his Christmas right here. This is the big holiday for Food Hive. He's going to be cooking up a whole feast. He's going to have turkey. He's going to have stuffing. He's going to have cranberry sauce. He's going to have, what else do you serve for things? He's going to have pie. Food Hive loves pie. He loves Smurfette's pie. But he loves pie. Pecan pie, apple pie. Pecan pie is the best. Pumpkin pie, strudel. He loves it all. Groovy Goose with the $4.99. My non-wrestling fan friend saw Tyrus with the NWA title and thought the rap group was doing a reunion tour. I said on the podcast, I said, hey, look, Corgan got what he wanted, right? Nobody's been talking about the NWA this much since the Straight Outta Compton movie came out like 7 years ago. So I guess he got what he wanted. GCC 305 with the $5 super chat. Anyone who thinks Brodus Clay is the greatest NWA heavyweight champion needs to use BetterHelp with your promo code. Thanks for the live review. I don't think I've heard anybody make that statement. I don't think anybody is crazy enough to say something as stupid as that. All right, GCC, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Oh boy. All right. So like I said before, we are going to be live again tomorrow night. We have AEW Full Gear. If you missed it, I did my final predictions on the Dynamite stream Wednesday night, went through the entire card. Tony Khan has said that they're going to try to keep the card to a good length this time. There are fewer matches. I think they have like 10 or 11 matches this time instead of 15. So hopefully, now that doesn't mean that he won't just give more time to those matches and it'll go 4.5 hours. Hopefully it's not too late of a conclusion though. And then we'll be live on YouTube as soon as the show is over, whatever time it is. So come on back tomorrow night. We'll talk about Full Gear, episode 783 of the podcast on Sunday, as always. Never miss a beat there. And then Monday night, back with you live for the Raw review as we kick off Thanksgiving week. I hope that you will spend at least part of your Thanksgiving with me. I'm thankful for all of you. Again, don't forget that there is a Black Friday sale ongoing right now for Pro Wrestling Tees. You can get the 15-year anniversary t-shirt 20% off. So if you want to get a few bucks off, now is the time to go ahead and take advantage of that. And also, if you missed it, we had a watch-along. Big stream last night. We were live for about over 2 hours. We did a watch-along for the very first Elimination Chamber match at Survivor Series in 2002, 20-year anniversary, and we hung out for a while, celebrated 15 years of the Sound Off. So thank you for hanging out with me last night as well. And I'm out of here. I will see you tomorrow night, bright and early, because it'll probably be after midnight, for the Full Gear stream and all the other great content coming up here in the days ahead on the Sound Off channel. Until then, have yourselves a good night. Take care, guys.